So for hamstring training, we know hamstring curls and hip hinges are the bread and butter of everything you're gonna be doing. For this video, we're going over just the hamstring curl component, because we're gonna be doing glute work where we do hip hinges for RDLs, deadlifts, that kind of thing. For hamstring curls, we have the prone hamstring curl and a seated hamstring curl. Understanding the difference and why we should be doing both is probably point number one. Point number one here is that you're training the hamstring and hip extension in the shortened position, right? Because you're essentially double shortening your hamstring. You're shortening it in extension, and then you're shortening it in knee flexion. Double shortening, right? Whereas on a seated hamstring curl, it's length focused because you're in hip flexion, right? You're in hip flexion, the hamstring lengthens. You can shorten it here, yes, but you're not double shortening it into hip extension the way you are here. So in theory, this is short focus. Seated's gonna be length focused, but isolated at the knee, as opposed to isolating at the hip. Let's get you in position here. We're gonna talk about a couple things to look out for. The number one thing on here is, go ahead and lie down for me, is the goal is to not necessarily get your heel to your butt. Everybody thinks heel to butt is the number one factor here. That is where more range of motion is not inherently better. You're not gonna have full knee flexion where your heel actually touches your butt. Point number two is we need the spine to be in a fixed position. I'm okay with where you're at right now, but what I like to do, and it's kind of untraditional, is think about some scap protraction, where you're kind of opening your scapula up and you're almost pulling yourself away from the bench. Yes. Block this in stone. I don't want anything moving here. And now from here, go ahead and bend your knee, but don't lose the scapula. Squeeze the hamstring, pause. Found the contraction, right? You're in hip extension and knee flexion where we're essentially double shortening your hamstring. Don't lose the scapula. Go ahead and start straightening your knee. Take your time with it. We're gonna do one set here, balls to the walls. Feel where the end of length is. Slowly come up again and find where the end of the hamstring is, right about there. That's it. If you were to go any further, you're gonna start rocking at your pelvis too much, right? That's not the goal. So more range of motion is not inherently better here. Give me a few more and let's just keep rolling with this. And so again, hamstrings lengthens, now double shortens because of the position we have you in. The scapula stays protracted. The spine is like almost flexed a little bit so that the torso's locked down, the pelvis isn't jumping around, and you're finding the hamstring in that shortened position without anything else actually moving. Keep rolling with that. We also like keeping the ankle dorsiflexed. You're doing a good job with that. That'll keep the ankle in a stable position. Nice, and as you start kind of failing, do your best to maintain the integrity of your pelvis. Yes, exactly. I don't want to see the pelvis kind of hiking or dropping or anything in an effort to get the knee to bend. Feel where the end of your hamstring truly is, right? And you see how you're sliding down a little bit. And so we call it counterbalancing and bracing. Pull yourself into the machine, protract the scap at the same time, create tension in your upper body. You radiate through here, keep this locked in, full length, come back up, shorten again, squeeze. Again, not just focusing on kicking your butt, but contracting your hamstring. It's two different things. Good, again. Very good, we're starting to burn out a little bit. That's okay, maintain the integrity of your spine. Awesome, give me a few more. Yes, and if you need to reset yourself because the pelvis is sliding down, that's fine. Reset yourself. That's okay, pull yourself up. I want 4 or 5 more reps here. Lock this in again. Reinitiate scap protraction. Lock the pelvis down, squeeze the hamstring. On this next one, think about squeezing my pen behind your knee. Contract, yes, exactly. Again, same thing. Squeeze, yes, good. Again, don't lose me here, don't lose me here. Come on, protract, protract, protract. You got 4, 3, good, keep going. Come on, come on, come on. Lock this in, 2. 1 more, and then you're gonna burn it out. Go a little bit faster, squeeze the juice out of it. Keep going, keep going, keep going. At this point, who cares? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and relax. All right, so let me show you so you can see it on me for a second. Just for some points of emphasis, I put you here. I told you to protract your scap. Right? You lock the spine down. The goal is not to go all the way to here. because I just lost tension on my hamstring. To get my knee bent this far, you have to do a lot of anterior pelvic tilt, lumbar extension, right? So everyone thinks get the heel to their butt as far as they can, but as they do that, they actually lose tension on the hamstring. And that's where more range isn't better. And understanding where is the end of your knee flexion in hip extension and being true to that. And there's like ego lifting in this, not for how much weight you're doing, but for how much range of motion you're doing. It's the same thing as like someone goes for a squat and they squat so far down that they get a ton of butt wink, right? Their heels start coming up. They start cheating on their technique with the goal being more range of motion at what cost? More range of motion here usually takes tension off your hamstring, right? And because we're double shortening your hamstring, locking in that pelvis is gonna give you a way deeper contraction, which I bet you felt that, right? When you were way more conscientious of how far you were going, that is the #1 focal point on this one. Does that make sense? Yep. Let's go do seated hamstring curls now. Yeah. So I mentioned over there, seated hamstring curls, double shortening the hamstring and hip extension. The focus here is length, right? We can agree that as the knee straightens, we're getting length on the hamstring. So the seat positioning here should in theory be as far up as you can handle where your knee is not under the pad. This brand of machinery, hoist, has the pad under your kneecap. That's definitely not our preference, but it's the machinery that our gym has. In a perfect world, the pad would be here above your kneecap to lock the quads down, right? To lock the femur down. Regardless of the pad positioning, we want this as tight as you can handle. If that was too tight for you, I would listen to you and say that's fine, we'd go up 1 notch. Sitting upright, think anterior pelvic tilt a little bit more. Can you create more space right here? Now dorsiflex your ankles. Do you have any length on your hamstring there? You see how much more length you got there? Your eyes got real big. Yeah. So a couple points of emphasis. Anterior pelvic tilt, create space. That's gonna create more length on the hamstring. We have the ankle dorsiflexed. Go ahead and give me a rep from there. Squeeze. So you have the hamstring shortened now, right? But not double shortens the way we did on the lying hamstring curl. You don't feel the same contraction that you felt over there, correct? You should not feel the same. Right. Now come up slowly, and as you come up, keep that chest tall, create space behind the low back. The hamstring's now going to length, and you probably feel a tendency for the spine to kind of flex a little bit. Maintain the anterior pelvic tilt, bring the pad under you. Let's roll with that. And so in a perfect world, you would be sitting far enough up where the weight stack doesn't touch, and then squeeze, yes. And now if someone were to tell me they feel their calves on this, let's have you relax the ankle then. If you're like overly dorsiflexed, you might create tension through the tib and the calf. So if a client, you or a client, says, oh, I feel my calf working, not my hamstring so much, take tension off the ankle, put it towards the knee. So the dorsiflex cue is just a relative thing, it's contextual. And if you relax your ankle, you might actually get more of a hamstring contraction. Come back up. Just variables for you to play with is really what I'm saying. Yeah. Keep that anterior pelvic tilt, keep that chest tall. Again, creating length. This is the most equivalent to a RDL, but it's length at the knee, not length at the hip. Two different things. Nice. Very good. Keep rolling with this for 1 sec. You're still able to find length. Yes. The emphasis on the stretch component. You're still feeling a squeeze, but not to the same extent that you did when we were doing lying hamstring curls. Right. Good. And just owning that difference between the two is where we're really tackling it from both ends of the spectrum. And now if someone skips one of them, people will be like, oh, I don't do lying hamstring curls. Well, you're neglecting a huge component of your hamstring. Hypertrophy, strength, joint function, all the above. Keep going with it. Getting hard, I know. Now, do you feel your low back at all? No? Okay, and if someone were to say, oh, I feel my low back as I'm doing the set, chances are you're overextending on every single rep. I want anterior pelvic tilt, but that's a little bit different than over spine extension. Let's get like 4 or 5 more here, and just do your best to keep tension out of the calves and the ankle, and keep tension on the hamstring. Let's get another 3. 2. Nice. Maintain tension all the way to the stretch. One more, and then I'm gonna add some specificity to this, which is what I brought the yoga block over for. Beautiful. Does that kind of make sense? Yeah. So points of emphasis again, the seat is as far up as you can manage without the knees being in the way of the pad, right? If you were too far back, then you're not really in hip flexion anymore, not end range hip flexion. And then you're not able to get the full length on the hamstring, right? What we can do here too, now this is not advantageous for someone who is bodybuilding because then you're getting too deep into the nitty gritty. This is like FRC hamstring curls. If we were to put a block here, squeeze the knees together, now what you can do is add some tibia rotation. Does that make sense? So right now I have it where your femurs are fixed against the block. You have the tibia externally rotated or internally rotated. Let's start with external rotation and do the exact same thing. It's a little bit lighter so that you can focus on the contraction, and now there should be bias towards the outer portion of your hamstring. Okay. Come back up. So again, the point of this is to keep the hips from internally or externally rotating. I want rotation from here, not from there, right? Come back up. Internally rotate. It's not gonna be a ton of range of motion, right? It's gonna be subtle, especially as the knee bends. You should feel more, and now we should be getting more like inner hamstring stuff, inner hamstring tendon, as opposed to outer. You can create more bias to that. Give me a couple more reps there, and then we'll go back to neutral, and then we can call it. So if you or a client, you said yourself that you struggle with external rotation of your tib, go to external rotation. Train that now. You said it's your right knee, right? Left knee. On your left knee, are you able to contract this in the shortened position? Now maintain tension there. So now you're essentially using the seated hamstring curl to rehabilitate your lateral hamstring tendon. Good, keep creating length. That's the focus, it's the stretch component. Come back down, squeeze. Kind of see how that differs? Yeah? Go ahead and internally rotate. Exactly. Squeeze. So just food for thought, right? How you can kind of manipulate the exercise to train different components, different positions, different orientations. I'm gonna take this away. I want you to continue the set, but go back to the weight we were using. But let me make this a little tighter for you. Because again, we want you locked in stone as long as it's not gonna bruise you or anything. Last round, anterior pelvic tilt. Initially, you got length on your hamstring there. Come back under now. Good, bury this now. And we can relax that for right now. In principle, you get it.
Yes.
All right, so again, to recap, hamstring curls, we have 3 options. I mentioned 2 when we started the video, but there's 3 options. We have seated here in hip flexion. We have lying down in hip extension. And then there's also standing hamstring curl machines, right? The standing hamstring curl is what? Hip extension, knee flexion, right? So the seated hamstring curl is different from the lying and the standing. The lying and the standing hamstring curl are essentially the same thing because they're training the same orientation of the hip with the same orientation of the knee and the hamstring, right? They mimic one another. We don't have a standing hamstring curl machine here, but we have a lying down. So in a perfect world, if you're trying to isolate hamstrings at the knee, we're doing knee hip flexion hamstring curls to create length and hip extension hamstring curls to create short. And then the other end of the equation would be like an RDL, a deadlift, a hyperextension, a good morning, something that's biasing the hamstring at the hip as opposed to the knee. Does that make sense? And that'll be part of our glute workout because that's where the glute and the hamstring kind of tie in a little bit more. This was more hamstring isolated work. Make sense?
Got it.
Yeah? Awesome, man. Good job. Thank you so much for watching the Bodybuilding Not Body Breaking YouTube channel. If you found it helpful, drop a comment, like, subscribe, share it with a friend or family. That stuff really helps us in expanding our reach to popularizing this training approach because we know there just isn't a better way to do things. If you have interest in diving deeper into the stuff you just watched, feel free to join our school community. On our school community, we have a lot of additional content. We have an exercise library that has over 200 different movement options. We have programs. We have additional videos that are concepts, lectures, and rants to give you guys a deeper understanding as to how and why we do things. We also have a discussion board where you can get direct access to coaching feedback from me personally. You can also follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok for additional updates for when we post new content. Thank you again for watching, and we hope it was of use to you.